During the Infinity Wars event, Gamora used the Infinity Stones to fold the universe in half, merging souls and creating a new dimension called Warp World. In this world, Spider-Man and Moon Knight became one, and from that fusion, Archknight was born. In this reality, Peter Parker was just an ordinary kid when he was young. One day, he went to a science exhibition with Uncle Ben and Aunt May. On their way back home, Peter convinced them to cut through Central Park instead of taking a taxi. So they agreed and walked back, just like Peter wanted. But in the park, a monstrous being called Goblin by Night attacked them and Ben and May were killed. Peter himself was left mortally wounded. As he was on the brink of death, a mysterious spider bit him. That bite infused him with the totem energy of ancient spiders and brought him back to life. But the event fractured his mind, splitting it into 4 distinct personalities. Ever since then, his head has been filled with the voices of the other 3. Kind of like Moon Knight, who has 3 personalities, Peter now has 3 new ones, plus Peter Parker himself. But unlike Moon Knight, his personalities don't fight with each other or go out of control. The voices in his head nearly drove him insane. But being Peter Parker, he held on with strong willpower. Instead of suppressing them, he allows each personality to take turns controlling his body. That way, instead of internal fights over control, things surprisingly balanced out early on. When Peter grew up, he became a very successful businessman. He became the CEO of Parker Industries. But by night, wearing a mask, he operates as the vigilante known as Archknight. What's interesting is, he has an assistant named Harry Russell, his right-hand man. Harry's father is Norman Russell. Norman is a hybrid being of the goblin and werewolf by night, cursed with some kind of lycanthropy. Harry may have been Peter's assistant in his regular business life, but once, Peter actually tried to convince him to become his sidekick. However, Harry refused because he had no powers of his own. He helps Peter maintain his image and responsibilities as a proper CEO when Peter is away. If you look at Archknight's origin and lifestyle, they somewhat resemble Batman's. Peter had no idea that Norman was actually Goblin by Night. When Norman turns into Goblin by Night, he completely loses control. He hunts, kills, and destroys everything in his path. Harry knew about this ever since he was a kid, but he kept it secret. One day, while Peter was visiting Harry's house, Goblin by Night suddenly appeared out of nowhere and attacked him. So Peter quickly transformed into Archknight and chased after him. Harry saw what was happening and tried to stop Peter from going after him, but Peter didn't stop. While Peter and Goblin were fighting in the park, Peter got distracted for a moment, then Harry showed up from behind and tossed him. Right then, Norman transformed back into his human form, and Harry quickly grabbed his father and ran. It was at that moment Peter realized that Goblin by Night was actually Norman. As soon as Peter recovered, he headed to Norman's house to look for them. But when he found no one there, he had to back off. The next day, Harry secretly took his father to the sublevels of Parker Industries to treat him, away from anyone's eyes. But while Harry was treating to his father's wounds, Norman transformed back into Goblin by Night and bit Harry on the neck. At that exact moment, Peter, who was in a company meeting, sensed Goblin's presence through his spider sense. Moments later, Goblin burst out from beneath the floor and attacked Peter Parker right in the building. As the two fought, Peter eventually gained the upper hand and was about to finish him off. Harry swooped in riding his father's prototype Goblin glider and convinced Peter not to kill his father. He explained that his father wasn't in control when Ben and May were murdered, but Peter was still overwhelmed with a desire for revenge. Afterwards, Harry transformed into Goblin himself and fled the scene. What really happened was, when Norman bit his son, he unintentionally passed the curse on to him. So Peter put his pride and anger aside and teamed up with Norman to save his best friend from this cursed fate. Peter Parker's 4 personalities are all quite distinct and unique in their own ways. The first personality is just the regular Peter Parker. This version of him is called the Arachnid. He can be considered the main form of Archknight. He's lighthearted, witty, and likes to annoy enemies with taunts in battle. The second personality is called the Knight. He's the most alert and calculating. Whenever danger arises while the others are in control, he immediately steps in and takes charge. He is deadly serious and very aggressive, and the type who looks a criminal dead in the eyes and says, "Do I bring you down, or do you bring yourself down?" That's why he's incredibly useful in dark, crime-ridden corners of the city. The third personality refers to himself as CEO Peter. He's the one managing Parker Industries as the chief executive. He's a full-on businessman, strategic, poised, and corporate savvy. And the final personality is called Science Parker. He's a pure scientist, obsessed with knowledge and experimentation. Ironically, he's afraid of heights, which makes him the complete opposite of the first personality. So that's the story of him, Peter Parker like you've never seen him before. A hero with 4 minds, 1 mission, and a dark past that still haunts him. Would you like to see this version animated or in a comic series?